Hey guys, welcome to Hip Hop Clarity, where we don't follow the noise, we follow the receipts. Because in this culture, the story is one thing, but the truth, that's something else. Let's get into it. Now, before we start, as always, I need y'all to pay attention. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Okay, y'all. I wasn't even planning on doing this today. Okay. But as we all know by now, Hollywood Unlocked posted what is being described as a cease and desist sent from Papoose's attorney to Remy's attorney via email. And y'all know me, I can't just read the headlines, right? I got to read the whole document because after I read these three simple last pages, honey, I got questions. I got questions. And I'm going to say this if the facts make Remy look wrong, then she's wrong, right? But what we're not going to do is change context. I think the context of the whole situation is purposely being mishandled, if you will. Okay. So we're going to look at it like this. This document says one thing, but the context says something else. Okay. We're going to discuss not in its total, not in its totality, but we are going to hit highlights of the timeline of everything that happened so far up until this point, right? And what Remy actually said. And we also going to talk about what had already been publicly said about Remy, right? And can we talk about why in a matrimonial dispute between Papoose and Remy, Clarissa is somehow involved in the conversation with the attorney's argument? Because that part there, we got to talk about that. That is crazy. Now, before we get started, one disclaimer: I have not independently authenticated, whether this is really um the cease and desist and all that crap or the correspondence of it. So I don't know if it's real or not. The law firm appears to be real. You know what I'm saying? It looks like it could be. So I can't say whether it's real or not. All right. That's the first thing I want to say. I'm not telling you it's authentic. I'm just telling you let I'm just gonna read the damn thing. Okay. So as you can see here, the document is dated April 18, 2026. Okay. It's addressed attorney to attorney and it references the matrimonial cases that's involving Papoose and Remy. Okay. So, first important distinction, this is not a court order. Okay. A judge did not issue this document. This does not establish that Remy committed any defamation. And based on these pages, it doesn't show that a judge ordered Remy to stop speaking either. That's this is a correspondence from Papoose's attorney expressing objections, if you will, to Remy's public conduct and discussing possible legal actions, okay? And it's all there, okay? But it's the first paragraph that caught me because the attorney says, I write as a follow up to my prior email regarding the recent publication and dissemination of a recording by your client. Wait, excuse me? A follow up, a, a follow up. Okay, so then let's put these dates together then. Okay, so okay, Remy dropped the WYFL remix April 10th, 2026. Now, if you look at this attorney's letter is dated what? April 18th, 2026. That was 8 days after the song dropped. But April 18th isn't apparently the first attorney of communication about this record. See, the letter itself says it's a follow up to a prior email, which means assuming this document is authentic, somewhere between the release of the record, which was April 10th, and this April 18th letter, Papoose' attorney had already contacted Remy's attorney concerning this song. Okay, so now we don't have that email, of course. That email has not been published anywhere from what I can see, like a previous discussion about this. And we don't know the exact date of that either, right? And we don't know exactly what was said. So I'm not calling that first email another cease and desist, okay? I'm not putting words into the document that I haven't seen. I want to be fair about that. But can we say this though? There was apparently an earlier attorney communication concerning WYFL before the April 18th follow-up, and that happened very quickly. And see, now that leads into another question. What in the hell did Remy actually say? Because reading some of these headlines, you think this woman woke up, walked into the studio, and randomly started attacking her husband, which I don't blame her if you really think about it. But she didn't do that. That's not what happened. Okay? If you only read what his attorney said, and you don't know the context, which is if you don't know the context, you're living under a rock or you just love the land of delusion. That is not what happened. So what we're doing is we're going to put these lyrics back into context, okay? I'm not going to play the record because we're not trying to invite the copyright police over here, right? But let's examine what she's talking about. One subject in WYFL concerns ghostwriting, okay? And here's the problem with treating that subject as something Remy randomly introduced, right? Papoose had already publicly claimed that he wrote 90% of the words that came out of Remy's mouth.
What I got? Since I met her, I have written 90% of the rhymes that came out of her mouth.
So he wrote a significant amount of Remy's material, right? So so think about that. We're talking about two rappers. Papoose, of course, is a rapper. He's an MC, and Remy is a rapper, right? And one rapper publicly challenges the other rapper's authorship. Okay. And then that other rapper responds. And guess what? A rap. Now you can think she shouldn't have responded, and you can think she went too far, but before we continue on to that, we personally, our channel had already debunked Papooses lies about him writing 90% of the things that came out of her mouth. That came out of her mouth. We already debunked that. We debunked that several times. He said that he wrote Conceited. He did not write Conceited. He was on the remix of Conceited. And to be honest, and I'll say, and tell you exactly who was all on Conceited. It was Remy. She was the first one. Papoose was the second one. I believe Lil Wayne was the third. Trina was the fourth one, and Jay Mills is the fifth one, right? And to be honest, Papooses Papooses verse was the starriest verse on there. Jay Mills kept up with Remy. Trina slid on hers, and Wayne did what Wayne does. But Papoose verse was really not needed. It was a remix. It was the conceited remix, and it came out in 2006. So when he sat up there and lied in y'all face about writing conceited, he was talking about his version. DJ K Slade was alive then. He did the remix. That man lied to y'all in y'all faces, but y'all keep thinking that he's just this honorable guy. That man ain't nothing honorable about this man right now. Okay, so think about that. Now circling back, right? Like I said, you can think she went too far if you want to, and you can even say to yourself, not out loud, of course, that you thought that the bars were trash. To me, it wasn't. I thought she answered appropriately, right? But see, all of that is subjective. All of that is subjective. But contextually, though, only thing Remy did was answer an accusation that has been made publicly about her. And see, that matters. That matters a lot. Because see, it matters due to the fact she let that person know, Papoose, that you never ghost rope for me. Hell, you ain't ghost rope for nobody else either. Why you keep lying to these people about me? But some men will do that because they're liars in themselves. So, that's what it is. But he lied on her. So she's responding to that. But let's talk about the other accusation. You know the other accusation talks about her. How do we say? Uh, she has a problem closing her legs. We'll call it that. Okay.
I hate to say this, but you want to know why she started having so much animosity towards me? Because I ended up finding out the truth, y'all. I caught her with this individual in our house while my daughter was on the bed with them.
Okay. Remember that? There's another section where Remy is challenging her characterization of herself as somebody who constantly sleeps around. And who brought that to the forefront again? Papoose. Where did that conversation come from? Again, Papoose. Remember, he accused her of repeatedly cheating. He didn't say that privately between them two. He said that publicly. He said that on a live. So when Remy questions how she's supposed to be this huge, eh, fuck it, I'm gonna say it, this huge hoe, while challenging the evidence behind that characterization, again, is she disparaging him or is she responding to something that had already been said about her? And that changes the whole context of this BS letter, okay? Because the letters describe the recording as containing profane, insulting, and highly negative remarks towards my client. Oh, I mean, this is rap. So absolutely there's going to be an insult. What are you talking about? Both of them were battle rappers. What are you talking about? Like, for real, what are you talking about right now? But here's my question, though. Are we separating an unsolicited attack from a response to an allegation? Because, see, those two aren't the same thing. Because let's talk about the context once again. Papoose publicly questioned Remy's fidelity. And we know he did because y'all, I can't believe people keep trying to forget the footsteps of this whole situation. Y'all remember, Easy was blamed for the whole marital demise, right? Remember when she was getting blamed? She was getting her back kicked in for 2 years because y'all thought, not y'all know who y'all is, thought that she cheated and come and find out now y'all know she didn't. He didn't mind that. He started that. He helped it. He even paid people to bring that story to life. So Remy responded. Papoose publicly questioned Remy's authorship, right? But those of us who know hip hop, and we've been knowing hip hop for a while, we remember Remy being outside. She was outside before Papoose. She was outside before Papoose. Papoose even said that he was a fan of hers and he's seen her live in 2004 when they came out with Lil Jon on the Summer Jam in 2004. Okay. And then apparently within 8 days of this song dropping, right, attorneys are already communicating about her response. So this is a true timeline, right? And I'm not adding anything to it. This is what happened. That whole record was a response. And see, this is another place where I think people need to really slow down. Okay? Let's really be clear about something, okay? Some things can be rude, you can be profane, you can be petty, you can be disrespectful, you can be downright nasty without automatically being legally defamatory. Okay. And I'm not determining whether anything Remy said meets the legal definition of defamation. That's not my job, right? I'm not the judge. I don't give a damn. But neither is Twitter, neither is Instagram, and neither is a celebrity blog, right? But what's interesting is the language of the letter itself. The attorneys say that they are contemplating amending the complaint to add a count of defamation. Contemplating. See, that's important because the document doesn't say the court found Remy liable for defamation. And it doesn't say we prevailed on our defamation claim. The letter says they're considering adding one. See, that's not the same thing. And let's talk about this. This why is Clarissa's name mentioned here? Because this is where I really set up. Be- Remember, this is a matrimonial case between Papoose and Remy, right? But his attorney eventually brings up Claressa, slow ass Shields, right? See, the letter references interviews involving Papoose and Miss Shields and characterizes them as demonstrating that neither has ill will towards Remy. And that caught me. I was like, hold on, wait a minute. What? Like, why is Clarissa being used as evidence of anything in this argument? They're going through a divorce. Why is she mentioned? Right? Now I want to be clear about something. I want to be clear about this one thing real quick, okay? Now there is nothing inherently improper about an attorney mentioning a third party. That's fine, okay? Okay, cool. If that person is relevant to the circumstances, an attorney can discuss them, okay? But Clarissa is not a party to Remy's and Papooses' marriage. So she's not automatically bound by whatever these two are negotiating in their divorce. So here's the problem. The letter, Papooses' lawyer brought Clarissa into the comparison now. So once Clarissa is presented as evidence supporting the argument that the other side isn't quote unquote demonstrating ill will towards Remy, guess what we all can do now? We all can examine the assertion. Excuse me, I'm about to say assertion, but the assertion, right? And all of us know because we all got common damn sense. We know there's receipts out there. We know there's receipts out there. And it's obvious. I didn't want to just sit here and say Clarissa is always talking about Ruby because she really is. I mean, that's an opinion, but that's fact too. So what I tried to do was I went looking and I deliberately stopped my search at April 18th, 2026. The reason why is because anything said after this letter doesn't tell us what the public record looks like when the attorney allegedly wrote it, okay? And based on what I could find, publicly preserved posts, interviews, social media exchanges that could substantiate that I was able to substantiate there's like at least anywhere between 10 to 15 identifiable instances where before April 18th, 2026, Clarissa publicly addressed, referenced, responded to, or discussed Remy or circumstances that directly involved Remy. So it's not like when we say she's always talking about Remy, we're exaggerating. We're not. I found at least 10 to 25, at least. Okay, myself. Somebody else that could do their due diligence, I'm quite sure they could find more, way more. I'm giving at least. I know there's a maximum somewhere. I am not going to try to find that maximum. So I at least say about 10, 10, 15, 25, 25, at least 25, okay? And I'm being conservative. I think I am, okay? I'm also not counting 10 blogs reposting the same tweet as 10 incidents either, okay? I tried one statement is one statement from the original source, okay? Now, of course, in December 2024 alone, that gives us multiple public exchanges. That's when everybody was firing off on everybody, right? Clarissa publicly accusing Remy of lying. Oh, that's another one. Remember, Clarissa was the one that said, "Oh, you got two boyfriends," and she said that in 2024. And come to find out, Clarissa had three. But we're gonna keep it moving, right? She disputed materials Remy posted. She publicly criticized Remy's conduct. She directly addressed or tagged Remy, right? And let's not forget, like she always do with everybody else, she challenged to fight Remy in 2024. Remember Crash Out? Because she had a boxing match. When was that? That boxing match? I forgot. Remember she? I think it was February or something like that. And let's go Crash Out in February. Remember she wanted to fight Remy on Twitter. Okay. And then when we get to 2025, here comes Claressa publicly discussing her relationship with Papoose while his marriage to Remy is still unresolved. Then remember that then when Remy responds publicly, Claressa responded publicly too. And one of those responses didn't require anybody to decode a subliminal, right? She's been in everyone's DMs and she'll mention Remy Ma's name because a person, whoever she's speaking to, says something about Remy Ma. She goes out her way to dog her. There's text, there's Twitter exchange of messages that goes back and forth when she mentions her directly, indirectly. Okay. So with all that said, now I have to return to this alleged April 18th letter, right? Because you're using Miss Shields as part of the argument, demonstrating that neither she nor Papoose harbors ill will towards Remy. Meanwhile, there's existing public history already that includes direct conflict between Claressa, that starts with Claressa, and Papoose versus Remy. And I don't like to say that there's a fight going on between Claressa and Remy because Remy ain't fighting for that man. She don't want that man. She don't want that man. This is a whole one-sided fight. And is Papoose wants Remy to want him, and Claressa wants Remy to want him too, so she can have somebody to fight with. Because Remy do not want this dude. Okay. Now, am I saying that Claressa wasn't allowed to respond? No, but guess what? Remy was never responding to her. When Remy did that song, yeah, she might have did a shot towards Claressa. I actually think it was somebody else with Claressa involved. I think it was three different people, but that's neither here nor there. She mostly came at Papoose. She did what they were supposed to do. They're MCs. She did what they were supposed to do. Now, Papoose sat here and talked all that bullshit about 50 not responding. He's supposed to get in the booth and all of that. You quietly snuck your ass. You had your lawyer sneak her ass over there on an email to C and D Remy, right? That's crazy. That's crazy. And this is crazy too because when you think about all of these responses, everybody's responding to everybody, right? Except this is the thing. Remy ain't the one that's starting this shit. Remy is answering back. She was quiet for 2 years, two and a half years. All the narratives had run amok. Remy shut the hell up. She ain't say nothing. She came out in 2024. She did all of her posts. Then she came out in 2025 and she did all of her lives. And it's crazy because now everything she's saying is coming to fruition, right? So my thing is this. Why are we framing one person's response, which is Remy, as the behavior that suddenly requires an attorney's intervention, right? That's the question. And that's what makes me think this is all some bullshit, really. It makes me feel that Papoose feelings, his little witty beaty feelings got hurt. And I also think that this is where the conversation should actually be. Not really whether Remy's good and Claressa's bad, which we know what's up, okay? And not that Papoose is bad and Remy's good, but we know what's up with that too. But that's boring because we can break that down. The interesting question that I have is what standards are we applying this from, right? Because it seems like this is two separate standards, okay? Because if Remy's response is being characterized as conduct that could negatively affect the matrimonial proceedings, then how are public statements coming from the other direction being evaluated? We just heard this fool on cam talking about Remy's and Papooses marriage. They was just asked about the golden child. She was asked about that. What are we doing? And of course, somebody's always gonna say some bullshit like, well, Claressa though, Clarissa isn't married to Remy, so she could kind of say what she wants. You're correct. Clarissa ain't married to Remy. And I'm going to say that again, that Clarissa is not a party to their matrimonial case either. So why is she talking? Why is she talking about something she ain't got no business being in the first place? That's also why I think it's very interesting that she's even included in this letter. This is Papoose lawyer. What the hell is Clarissa doing in this? Okay. The attorney didn't have to use Clarissa as evidence of a peaceful conduct, but the letter did, though, right? And once you introduce somebody as evidence supporting your position, guess what everybody can do? We can examine the evidence that you introduced. And if we're talking about no ill will, shit, I don't know y'all, but a public invitation to get in the boxing ring doesn't exactly scream, warmest regards. Calling up to radio stations and your friends and you talking about Remy Ma and everything and talking about how much of a horrible parent she is, all in everybody's inboxes. It doesn't seem like a non ill will situation. That's definitely ill will. That's all they've been doing is ill will towards Remy, and she has kept her mouth shut. Shit. And so now let's go back to the title. Let's go back to the record itself because this is what's funny to me, right? It ain't like Remy titled the record "Dear Papoose and Clarissa," right? She doesn't explicitly identify every person, you know, but listeners believe they know who she's talking about, right? And a lot of those connections were made by fans, social media, and entertainment blogs. And we're not stupid. We know who she's talking about. But context is very important, right? Because Remy didn't explicitly say certain things about Clarissa. Now, listeners interpreted certain things to be about Clarissa, and because Clarissa's characteristics, she showed the shit, right? But that doesn't mean she said, Clarissa, you got your teeth done, you got surgery done for promo. She didn't say it like that. She didn't say Clarissa. She just said that's what you did. So the shoe fits, wear it. Shit. And what's crazy about that, because whatever the listeners interpret and whatever Remy says, that's not automatically interchangeable. And when we're talking about like potentially adding a legal claim like defamation, precision matters, right? And you know what else kind of bothered me? That word proposed. Proposed just bothers me because when we see that, right, it references proposed non-disparagement provisions previously discussed between counsel. Proposed. Like that word really matters, right? Like the document doesn't say pursuant to the judge's existing non-disparagement order, right? At least the pages we looked at didn't say it. It says proposed non-disparagement provision. And so you might be like, well, what the hell does that mean, Clarity? Well, when I looked it up, it from what I can understand, because I don't know legalese like that, but from what I'm understanding, the proposed non-disparagement provisions is something like the attorneys had apparently discussed these provisions that's differently to me. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like that they discussed these things and they didn't really have it like a court order, but it's something that the lawyers themselves was having a conversation about. Okay, that's totally different from showing a signed agreement. There's nothing there for that, and it's different from showing a court order. That means the judge didn't tell you this. The two lawyers was discussing this, going back and forth about it. And that doesn't mean because one lawyer said one thing that the other lawyer automatically agreed. She probably said, "Oh, this is disparaging." And the other lawyer like, "No, it's not. Shut up," and kept it moving. You know what I'm saying? So we really have to distinguish between what the document actually establishes and what social media has decided it means, and this what the attorney tried to do with it. They tried to build a certain type of context with this. And as far as the authenticity of this document, personally, I don't know, right? I don't know. I don't know if this is really authentic or not. It seems real. The Esquire, the lawyers seems real. I know of several people was checking into it to make sure it wasn't no BS, and everybody came back, well, yeah, no, the letterhead is real and things of that nature. I personally haven't independently authenticated the correspondence. I can't tell you what it is. I think it's very weird how they even wrote they jotted down the lyrics, and the lyrics doesn't even match a disparaging claim, but whatever. All right. So there's pieces around it that appears plausible, but plausibility isn't authentication or what have you. So I don't know. I'm just gonna say it appears real. I can't tell you that it is or not. What I can question though is the way this document is being characterized. Because after reading it carefully, I don't see proof that a judge silenced Remy. So this is BS, right? A judge did not determine whether Remy defamed Papoose, so that's BS, right? It doesn't show that Remy violated a non-disparagement order, so we know that that's not in there, right? Because if that was the case, Remy need to do that with Claressa too. All okay, if I gotta shut up, all three of us got to shut the hell up then, and that's it, right? It also doesn't show that every lyric reproduced in this correspondence was an unsolicited attack. Okay, this is what I think happened. This is what I see, at least. It was a public dispute, as we've all seen and been bared witness to. There were public accusations that was made from Papoose, and then there was a lyrical response that was made from Remy protecting her name and her character. Then we had an attorney that had an objection to that response. And apparently an earlier attorney email that nobody's even seen yet. Okay. To me, that's way more nuanced than Papoose slapped Remy with the C&D because she was attacking him, right? And you know what? Because this isn't, I wasn't going to spend a whole lot of time on this anyway, but I have a messy question. You know, I'm not messy, but I do have this question. This question is bothering me. And I have my own idea, but I really want to know, how did a private attorney to attorney correspondence end up on a celebrity blog? Like, who actually released it? Papoose side could have released it, yeah, that's possible. Or did Remy side release it? I mean, that's possible. Or could somebody else with access have supplied it somewhere? That's possible too. I mean, without sourcing, I'm not accusing anybody, but you know, look, here's what fascinates me. If someone leaked this thinking it simply showed Papoose told Remy to stop talking, they accidentally gave us way more information. Because now we know that there was an earlier email, right? And apparently there was a discussion about proposed non disparagement provisions. Okay. Also, we see that there was some contemplating of adding defamation. Papoose' attorney specifically brought Claressa into the argument, which was crazy, right? So whoever leaked this, they really didn't close the conversation. They kind of opened it more stuff, like more doors that open. And can I just say this? I'm just okay. I'm gonna look at it from both sides. Okay, okay. Okay. Let's go on a theory hunt. Okay, so let's go on the theory of Papoose and Claressa leaked this information. What would be their reasons for leaking this? Well, first off, Clarissa's coming up for a fight this weekend, right? And the tickets, from what I'm hearing from other places, the tickets ain't selling like they're supposed to be. So that's drumming up, that's drumming up some type of, drama and everything like that. Um, and it's also trying to show some type of control that maybe that's showing that yeah, see, Papoose does fight for Clarissa because his own lawyer mentions her, right, trying to protect her, and it clearly is Remy's fault, right? It also shows some type of in their mind strength in Papoose where he's fighting for his rights to not be disrespected and disparaged, right? You see what I'm saying? So maybe I don't know how it would translate to ticket sales because that does not just because a cease and desist come out, that doesn't automatically want to make me want to buy some shit from you. Like, oh my God, a cease and desist because Remy was mean. Let me go buy some boxing tickets. That shit's stupid to me. Okay. Now, on the flip side, on the flip side though, in theory, right? We just theorizing, okay? What if, in theory, what if Remy side released it? What would be the gain from that? Well, we already know monetarily she wouldn't gain anything from it. But she is exposing. She could expose. Think about it. And wait. I just thought of something else too. Again, Clarissa fight is this weekend, right? It's the 15th, right? Or the 20th, I forgot when it is, but it's coming. So why would Remy expose it to talk about this and not to fight? Again, because y'all been using all this clout on me to sell something. So now, since y'all want to talk, let's really talk. So what if it was a deflection of like she had? Remember, Clarissa had they had media day. They did all kind of stuff today. We only heard bits and pieces about that, and all we've been talking about all day is the cease and desist. So if it came from Remy's side, she foiled the plan again, like that damn movie premiere got foiled. You see what I'm saying? I'm just again, this is theorizing. I'm theorizing. Okay, theorizing. That's all I'm doing. Okay. Another thing though, like I said earlier, it does expose the fuckery and the foolishness of Papoose. Right? Like look at this fool. He tried to C and D me, right? We're both rappers. He's trying to protect his name, but he didn't give a damn about my name when I took the hits for him. Cause y'all know what Papoose did out here. Papoose sat there and said she was cheating. He paid battle rappers. There was some stuff that happened at night of that Chrome event, Chrome 23, the grudge match events that people don't like to talk about. Some things went down that night. And it was more than just cheating. Okay. So it was a lot of things that was going on. And I think that in a way, this exposure, don't matter who exposed it, actually favors well for Remy. Favors very well. See, Remy don't talk, right? So something like this, whomever it came from, is really showing that somebody's a little nervous out there. And I did see a number of people saying, so you mean to tell me you got time for this cease and desist and you ain't got time to sign those divorce papers? You're damn right. You're damn right he do. You want to know why? Because I've been telling y'all for the longest, Pat want money. Have always wanted money. Now, y'all, when it was verified through Remy, it didn't have to be verified through Remy though. If it takes this long and they both started out in mediation and then he decided I'm a file in New Jersey, blah blah blah, that man want money. He was saying certain things out loud. He wasn't saying it because it was true. He was trying to say it to validate him getting half of her money. That's why he said I wrote 90% of what came out of her mouth. We know that's a lie. The one thing I wish Remy would do, I really wish she would do this. I wish that Remy would be as petty in her spirit in this manner here. She go out in her concert, wherever she's at, and she play every song that she rapped on with Papoose. Just raps her part. And dare to see what Papoose will do about it. Because you know what's going to end up happening? He'll get a check and she'll get a check because she got writing credits on his shit, right? And then I want Papoose to go out and do Conceited and whatever and all this other shit that he claimed he wrote. And then they post up who got paid for it. Who got paid for it? You did it, right? You did it, right? You said you got proof. Show the proof that this is the song that I helped her with her lyrics on. Show the proof. But you can't because you know you lied. Because remember, y'all, Charlamagne the God asked Papoose about. You said you wrote 90% of Remy Ma's lyric. Is that true? Y'all seen it on the videos that I posted that he said, there's no comment. Oh, it's no comment now?
Including Conceited.
Mm-hmm.
Wrote 90% of Remy's raps, including Conceited. Wrote 90% of Remy's raps, including Conceited.
Mm-hmm.
Was that true?
No comment, man. You know what I'm saying? I wish I'd have been.
You try to disparage this woman. The only reason why Remy can confidently be like, nah, that didn't happen, because again, Remy was out before Papoose. We know that. We know that. And there is this other clip too, and it's a long time ago, and I'm going to find this clip. It's going to take me a minute. I don't know if I can put it on here, but it's a clip. It has rest in peace DJ K Slay. It has K Slay in there. It has Papoose when he was looking like a young ass grasshopper praying man's ass, and it has the young Remy Ma when she was real reckless. And back in those days, because the way Remy rapped and everything, people like she had to have a ghostwriter. She had to have a ghostwriter at that time, right? And K Slay came out adamantly and said, and he said that in front of Papoose.
Do you write your own lyrics?
Do I write my own lyrics, or you just asking that generically because you feel like some people don't know, like have been living under a mountain?
Yeah,
Of course, I write my own lyrics. A lot of people say what?
A lot of people think females don't be writing their own lyrics. Certain females, you know what I'm saying?
Not me. I never heard that about me.
Okay.
I never heard nobody question my right. K, you ever seen
Don't even ask me. You know I know better than that.
I mean, you've known me since the teens, before I was able to even buy Dutchess without ID. I mean, have you ever seen me not with a pen, pencil, pager?
You always wrote your own rhymes. I never seen her come in the studio and just lay around. She
Pretty
always
much.
came and wrote it in front of my face.
That's just because I feel like sometimes I gotta make a statement because people really don't believe it. Like, I ask you what you want me to rhyme about, what's the topic, when, okay, I'll say that, and cool. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll do that.
The golden
She ain't no ghostwriter. Who, Remy? Remy ain't got no ghostwriter. Papoose was right there. He was right there. He heard the whole conversation. He was right there with K Slay. K Slay said, don't do that. Don't do that. No. So, and I'm paraphrasing. I just want to be clear. I'm paraphrasing, but he emphatically denied Remy Ma ever having a ghostwriter. Which, I mean, shit. Of course, she's under pun. And that's not saying that she's under pun, so that's the only reason why. But there's documentation about her rapping in high school, her having poetry. She's going on different blocks, battle rapping, all of that. She was outside before Papoose. Why would she respond and say that you ain't helped me nor nobody else? You always talking about you claim you help somebody. Shit, go help yourself. How is that disparaging? That's checking your lie. How is it disparaging when you sat up here and told everybody that your wife don't know how to close her legs? You told everybody that. And your wife came back and said, oh, so if I'm a big slut and all this, why can't nobody attach their body to me? But you saying this about me. That's her responding. How is that a defamation of character? When she's saying when you got money, you don't talk about money when your bag is up. Who got offended? Who got offended? Who's upset? And that's why I say context matters. Context always matter. Because before Remy released WYFL, the public accusation had already been made about her. Her fidelity was being questioned publicly. Her pen game was being questioned publicly. then she's a rapper who responds by rapping. And somewhere in 8 days of her dropping a record, we have this alleged attorney that did a follow-up letter, not even first, a follow-up letter. 8 days after WYFL dropped, okay? And then according to the letter itself, there had already been a prior email about this. Then the audacity of the document introducing Claressa as evidence supporting this idea of no ill will. Even though her slow ass and Remy already had a documented history of a public type of conflict that was really one sided. It was on Claressa's side more than Remy's side before this letter was even written. Now, some people might say, well, none of that proves Remy is right about everything, right? And some people might say, well, none of that proves that, also that Papoose is wrong about everything. And then, some of you Claressa fans will be like, well, none of it proves that Claressa is wrong for responding when she feels addressed, right? Although she starts it. And again, it definitely doesn't prove that this document is fake. We don't know. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It appears real based on what we have in front of us. That's all I can say, right? But I'm gonna tell you what all of this does prove. It proves why we need timelines. Okay, that's why timelines are so important. And I've always said I'm never gonna lie on you. I don't have to like you, but I don't need to lie on you to establish if you're full of shit or not. I don't have to do that. The only thing we need to do is look at the timelines, right? What this also shows that there's a difference between an accusation and a response to an accusation. See that there? That's the difference. That's the difference, right? You have an attorney threatening a defamation claim versus a court finding defamation. There's a difference between the words proposed terms and a court order. There was no judge's order for this. This was basically, I told you to tell her to leave my friend alone. He got his feelings hurt. That's what this is. We don't like you talking about us. Stop talking about us. Leave us alone. Stop talking about us. And the other attorney's probably like, well, if you shut the hell up, we won't have to respond. Everything that she's doing is a response. But we don't like how she responds. She don't need to respond. Well, you came and started the shit. I don't care. That's basically what it is. It's a person who started the fight and they lost. And they're mad about how they lost. That's what this is. They started this fight, and now that they're losing, they don't like it. That's a bully who getting their ass beat, and they don't like how the person is beating their ass. That's what this is. That's what this is. That's exactly what this is. And a lot of y'all consider to say, well, Remy ain't innocent. Never said she was. But all the thing I was focusing on was the context of this whole situation. Just the context, the way this was going down. Because, like I always say, right, if we're going to spill the tea, we're going to read these damn receipts first. Okay? And y'all, that is your hip hop clarity for today. Now, y'all tell me what you think. Do you think this document really changed how you view WYFL? I don't think so, but you tell me what you think, okay? Or does it put the lyrics back into the timeline? And if you're looking at the lyrics and you're looking at the timeline, does it change your view of the document? Because to me, those are two completely different questions. That's how I feel it. That's how I feel about it. Okay. So, y'all, as always, thank y'all for joining me today. Please like, share, subscribe, hype me up, hype me up. You know what I'm saying? All of that. That's all I got for y'all today. Y'all have a good one. Bye.
For hip hop, this is hip hop of the day. I give props to hip hop, so hip hop, hooray! Oh! Ring a ding ding.